Aventurine is going to rerun in version 4.4, and some people might wonder, is he still worth bowling for in 2026? Aventurine is a preservation unit, which means he is a sustainer. So if he can still sustain in the hardest content in the game, an anomaly arbitration king, then that means he is still a good sustainer. So I will test his sustainability in a preferred team, and by preferred I mean a team that can use a lot of follow-up attacks, since he can give shields to ally when they use follow-up attacks a certain amount of times. Hello there, more than 99% of my viewers aren't subscribed. If you are one of them, remember to subscribe. The goal isn't to defeat the king, but to see how long will this team survive. I feel like I should have chosen a different unit except for Clara, but I don't know who would do follow-up attacks, because I think the counter attacks from Svaro consider as follow-up attacks. Anyone else would have been better than Clara, since she has auto basically, and that's why units attacked her a lot, and that's why she died. Even though Clara died, I am impressed that the team survived the entire cycle 6, and normally at this point, if you have a good team, then at least some enemies would have died, which means less damage that your team will receive. I noticed that Aventurine was kinda slow because, like I mentioned, his talent, one of his stresses makes him able to give shields to allies, but however, as you can see, it has a limit, and that limit gets reset every turn. So that means if I need to depend on Aventurine to give shields to allies from this stress alone, I need him to be fast, and I would say his 141 speed isn't a fast one, and here he has a high amount of defense, and in terms of shields there was no issue. So I think I will hold up. I think I will switch to a speed boot and try again, and of course a different unit than Clara, since I don't think Clara is doing justice to Aventurine. So far there's no issues regarding Aventurine, but I wouldn't say that he's the best sustainer. Sadly, only one went into defense percentage, but we'll try speed, since the orb is already defense, because even though ultimate can give a random number of stacks, I wouldn't say it has a huge impact like Dan Hung's Parachute Ray's ultimate, so I don't run Energy Reason on him, but you do you. Everything has defense on him, and I know that Aventurine can be a DPS, but I feel like in the current meta, DPS Aventurine will do nothing. Speed 149, hopefully this will be enough. As for the teammate, other than Clara, to be honest, I don't know who. Like, who else has a follow-up attack? Regarding this team, if you have like Blade and Asvil instead of one of these two units, then Aventurine's value would go high, because Aventurine loves follow-up attacks, and Blade and Asvil are about follow-up attacks. So if you have these two, then I would say maybe go for Aventurine. Even though in terms of his support capabilities, the only supportive thing is the 15 increase crit damage taken by enemies when he uses his ultimate on them by 15%. That's it, and 15% is basically almost nothing in the current meta of the game, and in the current status of the game. However, you can use the buffs from the 4-piece and 2-piece Planner Ornament and Relic set to at least make him give more buffs to the entire team. I made sure every one of them is fast, because more turns equals more follow-up attacks, which equals more stacks, which equals more shields. I guess Blade has follow-up attacks, but I don't know if he's as frequent as Clara's. And of course, I forgot to mention that we need to see how long will this team survive and how many skill points will this team use, because like I mentioned, even though Aventurine can give shields to the entire team from follow-up attacks, you can also use a skill to do so. But however, using a skill requires a skill point, and I don't know if the Asville and the M-Blade team requires a lot of skill point usage, but if that's the case, then this might be an issue for Aventurine if you need to depend on his skills for the team to survive. Also, I forgot to mention that this stage currently has 500 HP reduced at the start of each turn, so I presume that's one of the reasons that Clara died. Let's say if this team can survive 2 cycles without a shield getting broken, then I would say Aventurine passed the test of being a good sustainer. Regarding the M-Blade and Asville team, I don't know, I presume the follow-up attacks are more frequent in that team than this team over here. Blade is... Well, he is dead. And this happened with a team was, I wouldn't say a lot of follow-up attacks, but was a decent amount of follow-up attacks, I would say. Just like before, this team managed to survive the first cycle. As for the second cycle, nope. And now it's time to use the same team, but instead of Aventurine, Dunhang, Premature Tray. The best sustainer there is, sorry, the best preservation unit. Because I feel like Hyacinth might be the best sustainer, at E0 I mean. Also, Dunhang Premature Tray, as he can deal damage, even though not by much, but definitely better or more than Aventurine. Or to be specific, the Soul Dragon itself can deal damage. Especially with Pure Fiction, he can get rid of small mobs. And he's at E0 S0. Both Aventurine and Dunhang Premature Tray are at E0 S0. And with Aventurine, basically I decided to put the light cone with the highest base defense on him, which I'm pretty sure is the barge light cone. It looks like the shields are lacking as well. Okay, I didn't expect that. The shields from Dunhang Premature Tray went away faster than Aventurine's. Even though Soul Dragon will... I don't think this team will survive. Maybe if I made Mars focus on Soul Dragon, since she can attack a lot, and every time she acts, Soul Dragon will get energy. Every time he dies before his turn happens, but it looks like Aventurine is a better shielder sustainer than Dunhang Premature Tray in a team with follow-up attackers. I'm glad to see that happen because I felt like Aventurine I guess since Dunhang Premature Tray arrived, I felt like Aventurine was basically useless and will get benched. But I guess not, depending on your team. And now it's trying to tie Aventurine in a team with no follow-up attackers. And I might as well try to defeat King in check and see whether will this team survive or not. Cleared in 2 cycles and no one was at low health or even at half health. So Aventurine did his job, even though most of his turns I had to use his skill. However, take note that this team can generate a decent amount of skill points. Elation Trailblazer at least can generate from his ultimate. I think Yagwang as well can generate skill points, and Silverwolf can generate skill points from her loot box. Even in the second difficult game mode in Honkai Star Rail, the first one being King in Sick Blight mode, he can easily sustain if he's in a follow-up attack, and that follow-up attack team can kill enemies before they kill your team, like Emblade, Asvil, and maybe future teammates who love follow-up attacks, or in a team which can generate a lot of skill points, like Silverwolf team with Yao Guang, EMC, and maybe Sparkle in a different team. Aventurine isn't a brick, I would say, and he can sustain well. However, in terms of his support capabilities, like I mentioned, the only support that he has is a 15% increased crit damage taken from his ultimate, and that's pretty much it. At E0S0, I don't know about his Eidolons or his signature light cone, and I presume from what we have seen, if he is in a team that doesn't have a lot of follow-up attacks and consumes a lot of skill points, then the team might be in trouble if they can't kill the enemies fast enough. Also notice that at E0S0 he doesn't have any cleanse in his kit, so if he gets CC'd, it might be over for your team. Only pull him if you like Aventurine. Don't mind your sustain not having a lot of buffs in their kit for the team they are on. Don't mind your sustain not having a cleanse in their kit. Plan to use him in content in which enemies don't deal a lot of damage. Plan to use him with teammates that do a lot of follow-up attacks. Plan to use him with a team that doesn't require a lot of skill points. Don't have any 5-star sustainers and can't clear the endgame because of it. Don't want to pull the Danhang Bemershort Ray, or he is already used in another team. I want to clarify that Aventurine might offer more shields than Danhang Bemershort Ray in a follow-up attack team, but overall, Danhang Bemershort Ray is better than Aventurine. However, before you decide to pull Aventurine, some people say that a dedicated sustainer for the new follow-up attack team, aka Mortenax Blade and Asvil, should drop soon. And if that's true, then that new sustainer will be better to pull for than Aventurine. So if you can hold on to your pulls, it might be worth it in the long run. Thank you dear subscribers for supporting this channel and motivating me to make more videos. I hope this video helped you, and if it did, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Goodbye.